It's time for Arbitration, your last word in Battletech talk. With your hosts, JP Arbiter, Mrs. Arbiter, and Ying Jancy. And now broadcasting from our studios in Kansas City, Missouri, welcome to Arbitration. Hello and welcome to another edition of Arbitration, your last word in Battletech talk. What is going on, everybody? Hi, I'm JP Arbiter.
I'm Mrs. Arbiter.
And we're doing something a little bit different this week because things are pretty quiet on the Battletech news front. Battletech PC is still awaiting its launch. The beta is now closed until and will remain so until launch day. Then it wouldn't be a beta; it'll be a release.
True. True.
Battletech Tabletop is, of course, in the all-quiet development phase. There's been a couple of feelers reached out with some Catalyst folks for interviews. I want to get those taken care of, like, in the next month or so. And otherwise, all we be and the lawsuit, the Harmony Gold lawsuit, is going fuck all. Really. So we got nothing to do. I suppose we could talk about the fact that the Blood Asp was set up for pre-order on MechWarrior Online, but a game I only play on occasion, and a mech I absolutely do not care about. So if you want to play the Blood Asp on MechWarrior Online, there, you can pre-order it now. There, we covered that. So what are we gonna do? I've burned 2.5 minutes right now talking about the fact that we've got very little to talk about. So I had this idea.
What's this idea?
And I will also be honest in that I'm pretty much stealing this idea from Jim Sterling and the Jimquisition.
Borrowing.
An homage, if you will. Anyway, Jim Sterling, one of my great media influencers, does a podcast called The Spinoff Doctors, where he and a former Destructoid editor, friend of his, Conrad Zimmerman, get together and they talk, give summaries and opinions on movies that are based on video games. We're not going to do it based on video games, but we are going to talk about movies about giant, stompy robots. So consider this kind of our backdoor pilot of this podcast, of this new project, something we might do on occasion. I've got a whole bunch of ideas that we want to do to this. So, what should we call this thing?
What should we call it?
The Arbiters Go to the Movies?
Sure.
Good enough. So, Mrs. Arbiter, what should our inaugural film for this be?
Let's go classic, dude. Transformers.
All right. So, again, please enjoy our inaugural episode of The Arbiters Go to the Movies as we cover Transformers, the movie. Transformers, robots up your nose. My dad used to say that to me as a kid when I was like a wee bitty, like our younger son, the XO2's age. Mm-hmm. So before we get talking about the movie, let's talk about our experience with this particular robot-oriented IP. Now, I know that for me, it's a foundational part of my childhood. For you, not so much. I mean, born in the 80s, you had that cultural awareness of Transformers, right?
Yeah. Well, we were both born in the 80s. Come on.
Yeah, but when you were a kid, what was your favorite cartoon that was basically a toy commercial?
I don't know. There really weren't any.
There really weren't. You weren't like stuck on Silverhawks or Thundercats or My Little Pony or anything?
I think I may have watched a little My Little Pony, but I never really got into it.
Okay.
I got more into, as a teen, the Clarissa Explains It All and Sabrina the Teenage Witch and some of those other ones.
Okay.
They amuse me.
Well, I love Clarissa Explains It All as a kid, but moving on to the point at hand. Transformers was foundational for my childhood. I was really big into it. According to my parents, I was like suckering them into a new figure every week.
So wait, if this was that one movie where they're talking inside your head, then you would have one island dedicated completely to Transformers.
Oh, probably. Now, you did get more exposure to this, to the franchise as we started dating because you couldn't avoid it with me. Just like everything Giant Stompy Robot related. And that's when I had just gotten a box set of the Beast Wars DVD. So Beast Wars was actually your first...
Waspinator.
Yeah, you felt... So, what you fell in love with Waspinator and you fell in love with Rat Trap. Why did those two characters get to you? Because all fans kind of latch on to certain characters.
All the Waspinator parts. What am I going to do with them now?
So, Rat Trap's wit and sarcasm was appealing.
Yes.
What about Waspinator? Was he just...
He was always the lonesome, the forgotten underdog.
He was just the butt monkey of the series and that made you love him?
Yeah.
I know that for Beast Wars, I mean, it's a little, like, typical macho kid thing, but I really, really appreciated the Dinobot character. And that episode where his character arc culminates in his death across the entire series was just so well written and so well performed by the voice actors involved. And that was a thing about the Transformers cartoons even back in the 80s. Yes, it was a toy commercial in half-hour form, but they really but there were episodes that had good, solid, abbreviated, mind you, science fiction writing attached to them. Now, granted, there was also a lot of crap episodes to it.
Well, it's like anything. You're going to have some that's really, really good and spot on, and some that kind of misses the mark.
Well, one thing I like to say for people who talk trash about how the Michael Bay movies are not really like Transformers, I remind them that in the G1 Transformers cartoon, there is an episode where Megatron builds a laser using cheap steel stolen from Pittsburgh, builds this laser cannon on top of a Mexican pyramid that has a volcano underneath it that powers the laser, and the only thing that keeps that volcano in check is a giant crystal, and Bumblebee gets set up with on a date with a Mexican El Camino.
What?
This happens in one episode of Transformers.
What?
Yes.
I'm even more confused than I was before now.
Indeed. But so but my point being is that there's always room for ridiculous, and there's always room to dare to be stupid, as it were, for this franchise, as well as the good, serious sci-fi writing. This movie somewhere in between, if you ask me. But we will be talking about that in our summary. So, Mrs. Arbiter, take it away.
So, to begin the movie, we have a machine-like planet that's floating through space towards another planet. So it's going on a pleasure cruise. Maybe. Of other machines. Well, that'd be interesting porn.
Love boat only with robots. So, this planet of machines that this other planet is descending on, is that Gobotron 1? The GoBots, the GoBots.
It's not the GoBots.
Really? Can it be?
It's not the GoBots.
Right.
Anyway, the planet is identified as Unicron. And we are given an out-of-scale sense, considering Unicron is so massive, it can devour Gobotron 1 when an attempt to evacuate is made.
Oh, it does not go well. After all, they may be able to escape their planet, but the other planet's bigger.
Yeah, that's a little difficult.
I do love, by the way, that among the sound effects as Unicron is nomming Gobotron 1, and yes, this is officially Gobotron 1 in our minds, but among the sound effects as he's consuming it and the planet's being devoured, you actually hear the classic you know, like that classic cartoon munch sound.
Oh,
So-
they can't escape.
So,
Someone
anyway,
has more gravity than them.
Anyway, continue, please.
We cut to a single and most awesome title sequence with a voiceover that all of us recognize.
Yeah, it's the same voice that you got from the Morta Meets the Eye pilot, and has occasionally shown up in commercials and in commercials and like at the beginning of a few episodes in the first season before it was abandoned.
Yep. And we have Laserbeak spying on Optimus Prime and Ironhide that are talking to themselves. And meanwhile, Optimus Prime orders Ironhide to make a trip to the store. Earth. And Jazz contacts Bumblebee and Spike to check if the skies are clear for it. Upon confirmation, the shuttle launches and Optimus curses the mission, hoping for luck.
Yeah, you never say good luck before a mission or pray for luck. That's just not how it works. Jazz, voiced by Scatman Carruthers, and Spike is, fortunately, not voiced by Shia LaBeouf.
Megatron throws shade at Starscream while ordering Laserbeak to report, and Megatron personally leads an interception mission. What this ensures is that Toys R Us realizes that they have to put their latest batch of toys immediately on clearance, as Prowl, Brawn, Ratchet, and Ironhide are killed for the first time in Transformers history.
Co-signed to the clearance bin. We've got a new wave to make room for.
Megatron relishes the easy victory, while Starscream points out his strategic blunder.
And Starscream is right. The supply run inherently left the Autobot moon bases undermanned. So wouldn't it be better to secure Cybertron's airspace rather than this whole thing? I'm just saying.
Yes, but at the same time, the idea of utilizing getting under their radar is another part of it.
Well, yeah,
You cut off a supply line and suddenly they have could have a siege on their hands.
Well,
Just
hashtag Starscream was right. Anyway. Moving on, we cut to Earth almost as though this is meant for, this was originally meant to be broadcast on television rather than put in the theaters.
of course. And, of course, there's always commercial breaks. We cut to Earth with Judd Nelson fishing with a small child.
I'm sure that this violates a court order somewhere. I don't know what, I don't know where. I'm not accusing Judd Nelson of anything specifically, but it just doesn't feel right.
Well, Stan Bush approves.
Stan Bush happens for no reason.
So we now establish that Autobot City is in Alabama.
Thanks to the Lookout Mountain. That's an actual place.
Cool.
It's in a state park in Alabama.
As the shuttle's coming in, Daniel identifies that it was damaged. And Hot Rod pulls up his sunglasses. Wait. Sunglasses?
Is there any other way to describe what that scanner is? He puts on his sunglasses because he thinks he's cool.
Okay. I'd say it's one of those little Saiyan scanners, but it's not quite that. Then he opens fire from wrist-mounted lasers, which we never see again. And the assault on Autobot City begins.
I had something, but no, I don't.
No, he didn't.
No. He does use the wrist-mounted lasers more in the movie, but never again in the cartoon. So.
True enough. So, as the siege begins, Blitzwing demonstrates his triple change ability. So wait, there's one that has 4 transformations, right? There's triple, there has to be a quad, right?
Eventually there's a guy that has 6.
Okay, good enough.
So.
As Cup swings to the rescue, saving Hot Rod and Daniel. We quickly establish the relationship between Cup and Hot Rod as the old NCO and the young officer.
And Cup gets to tell Hot Rod, "Oh my god, you suck." Literally, he points at the screen and says, "You suck."
So, Perceptor transforms into a microscope and points out to Ultra Magnus, voiced by Robert Stack, that they are outnumbered and outgunned. Ultra Magnus orders everyone into siege positions as RC and Springer secure the city. RC, yes, I missed you.
Portrayed by, she was a newcomer at the time, but eventually becomes basically a legend in the fandom. Susan Blue.
Ah.
There's only one time she has not portrayed RC, and that was in Transformers Prime.
Oh,
and that was because it was a significantly younger RC.
Oh, Interesting. So, in the beginning of the siege, Insecticons, Bombshell, and Kickback begin to eat at an armored door, providing Cup and Hot Rod a means in.
I don't know if they drive into the door or if the door sucks Hot Rod in.
I don't know either. It could be either one, or it could be one of those moments where it was all happening at once, so bam, there you go.
All I know is that Hot Rod sucks. Anyway,
in the meantime, the communications officer Blaster sends a signal out requesting reinforcements. Soundwave orders his minicons to destroy the transmitter, with Blaster's own minicons defending long enough for the signal to get out. And we cut to commercial. Blur, played by John Machetta Jr. of Micro Machines fame, does a thing. Well, RC pulls a dead wind charger, clearance spin, and Wheeljack, clearance spin. Everyone, including Daniel, moves the cannon into firing position. Megatron orders the Constructicons to merge into Devastator, minus the ball jokes. In a moment that makes adult fans giddy with glee.
Well, I mean, it is Devastator, and even when he has that deep bass voice when he's combined. So.
I'm not sure glee would be the right word.
Oh, giddy. Giddy is the only way. I mean,
The word I'm thinking of more describes someone else in this movie that we've seen already.
It's funny too because Devastator combining was never really given as much. It wasn't given as much fanfare in the series like it was in this movie. In this movie, it was like, holy shit, they're doing a thing. And even the first time Devastator became a thing, it was like this big, complicated bit of animation, but it wasn't awe-inspiring. It was very technical. So this gave a character its proper due in my mind.
So it made it a character, not a puzzle piece.
Made Devastator a character, not equipment.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to phrase it. So the siege lasts well into the night through the dawn, as Megatron announces the breach of Autobot City's defenses. Reinforcements arrive, with the first wave being made up of Grimlock and his Dinobots. Me Grimlock like. I like Grimlock.
Jumping out of a shuttle and falling with style into battle.
Yes. The Dinobots occupy Devastator's time, surrounding and overwhelming the Gestalt, and deny the Decepticons their primary weapon. What happens next is the thing everyone expects at the end of the movie, but we get it in a half an hour. Optimus Prime showing he's better than everyone else, single-handedly wrecking 9 Decepticons with seemingly no effort before facing down Megatron.
And once again, Stan Bush is happening.
Oh yes,
it is the 1980s power ballad that has become inescapably tied to this franchise.
Yes.
So, and the funny thing is that I like listening to You Got the Touch just casually. So,
well, I find it kind of funny to see how this is just from my standpoint with literature. It's because the climax is about where you expect it to be in stories and where they draw it out, but it's a lot faster moving.
Well, this is the climax. This is the showdown that was built up throughout the series. I mean, Megatron and Optimus had come to blows so many times, only for one or the other or both to withdraw from the fight at certain moments. And this clearly, with that declaration, Megatron must be stopped, no matter the cost. It is that announcement of this is the end. And everyone who is in the theater or everyone who is watching is like, wait, what the hell? We've only been here half an hour. So
much.
that sets up this movie as we're witnessing the end of the movie, and the denouement is longer than the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
the fight choreography is amazing, though. I mean, I the things that I explicitly remember are Optimus delivers a German suplex. And that sets up what's supposed to be the final confrontation, but oh no, stuff intervenes to drag it out. The other thing that I remember is Megatron gets knocked on his ass, does this really awesome leg sweep, and then does like a ninja style kick up to his feet. And granted, anything's possible because this is a cartoon, so it's not like it's a physical feat or anything. Yeah. But it looked great, particularly for hand-drawn animation.
Oh, yeah. So. And the thing is that it's hard to remember this is hand-drawn. This isn't...
Computer-generated graphics were not even in its infancy yet. It was a protoform, if you will. So... Anyway, continue.
Okay, Hot Rod tries to tackle Megatron, and as Megatron grabs for himself. And Optimus shouts out, "Oh my god, you suck, Hot Rod." "I called Zellberg and you go away."
And this after Hot Rod tries to get involved and Cup tells him, "No, you suck."
"You are not on the same level as Optimus. I'm sorry, but you are at least 10 levels below him."
Anyway.
Megatron shoots Optimus 3 times, turning the tables, if it were not for one last bit of effort. Optimus delivers a double axe handle and drops Megatron off the side of a building, the equivalent of 3 Cybertronian stories, severely damaging Megatron. Starscream calls for withdrawal, and the Decepticons evacuate under fire. Cut to commercial. In the next scene, Optimus Prime is in a hospital bed, dying before children's eyes.
I'm okay.
Need a tissue?
I won't cry.
Optimus tells the children, "Do not grieve. Ultra Magnus is just as cool as I am."
Possibly cooler. After all, Optimus Prime's trailer just kind of disappears. Ultra Magnus's trailer becomes armor. It's like Robert Stack's trench coat in Unsolved Mysteries.
Ah.
So that's why Ultra Magnus looks like that, because in the Ultra Magnus toy is basically a white Optimus Prime that plugs into a trailer.
Nice.
To become, and the trailer becomes the body. So.
And next, Optimus drops a MacGuffin, and Hot Rod picks it up. The Matrix of Leadership declares that Hot Rod sucks, as Prime dies, and turns gray.
Looking a little pale there, Optimus.
Where's the collar? The collar goes away.
That's the very weird death effect. And yeah, it was just so sad.
Meanwhile, back out in space, Unicron watches these events.
Somehow.
Somehow.
I have no idea how he's able to watch it. There's no indication of spy satellites, no observers, nothing.
So now we go back to the Triple Changer, Astro Train, who has more junk in the trunk, but cannot carry a whole war party to Cybertron. Scrapper suggests dumping the wounded out the gate. Starscream, seeing a chance to take command, rolls with it. Bombshell, Kickback, Shrapnel, Thundercracker, Skywarp, and finally Megatron are all condemned to the clearance bin. This leaves the surviving Decepticons to fight over who's awesome enough to lead.
Not nearly as great as the siege of Autobot City.
No, but it's funny to see them bickering. Elsewhere, Megatron and the rest of the Decepticons on the clearance float magically into Unicron.
So, did they pass Unicron and not realize what was going on, or was there like some space bridge chicanery?
Who knows? This is Unicron. He can do anything. Some would say.
Unicron, by the way, voiced, but we hear him speak for the first time, and he is voiced by Orson Welles in his last professional performance. He finished recording this movie like 2 weeks before he died.
Wow.
There was another movie that he had did previously before recording this that came out after Transformers the movie, but this was his last professional gig.
Wow. So, Orson Welles states that he has summoned them to be his heralds. Megatron is defiant at first, but agrees to become Unicron's minion in exchange for a second chance at life, and is reformatted into Galvatron. Meanwhile, Thundercracker and Skywarp are transformed into Cyclonus and Scourge, while the Insecticons become Scourge clones called the Sweeps.
And the reformatting scene, by the way, it looks computer generated. It's not.
I know. It is so cool. Galvatron declares his intent to follow Unicron's command. But he first makes a stop at Cybertron to re-secure his place as the head of Decepticons, disrupting Starscream's coronation as king. Galvatron summarily sends Starscream, the last of the Seekers, to the clearance bin. A turn of events that the other Decepticons are clearly upset over.
Oh, hell, Galvatron!
Unicron, in the meantime, begins to consume one of Cybertron's moons. Jazz is in the command base and calls for assistance, but the moon is devoured before they can evacuate. Spike and Bumblebee report what has happened, and that they are now in the crosshairs. Spike and Bumblebee then set up a bomb to blow up the entire moon while Unicron closes in. The bomb detonates as the moon is consumed, but does not visibly damage him. Spike says a bad word.
Yeah. Spike says a bad word. Suddenly this movie just became rated R.
Oh. Galvatron admonishes Unicron, declaring dominion over the moons as well. Unicron hits a pain button on him and forces him to comply. They arrive as Ultra Magnus gets his shit together and orders an expedition to Cybertron, declaring his intent to use the Matrix as a weapon. Hot Rod and RC do some battlefield flirting, while Blur wrangles the Dinobots, who seem to want to fight more than evacuation.
It's at this point I should share that despite being in the siege of Cybertron and surviving, the Dinobot Snarl, the Stegosaurus, is missing in action for the rest of the movie. Like, apparently you can see him in robot form through a window of a shuttlecraft or a spaceship at one point in the movie, but that's it. Snarl is gone.
Poor Snarl.
Because it's just 4 Dinobots, even though there are 5.
Both shuttles take off under fire. Kup is telling the Dinobots old war stories as Galvatron's ship, the Revenge, catches Tip, unleashing a missile barrage on their shuttle. Seeing a more direct application is needed, Cyclonus transforms and destroys the shuttle's controls, causing the ship to crash on a nearby planet. Meanwhile, the Revenge fires on Ultra Magnus' ship, who evades by performing a Star Trek maneuver, separating the command deck of their ship from the primary engine. Galvatron celebrates his victory until Unicron hits the bad touch button. Magnus makes for the planet of junk to initiate repairs of what is left of the shuttle.
Go.
Hot Rod is under some kind of liquid while tangled in robot seaweed. He cuts himself free and dives underwater, saving Kup from robot squid. Do we even need to mention the robot part?
Well, oddly enough, for some reason in the Transformers universe, the only planet with squishy meat-based life forms is Earth.
Okay.
I have no idea why.
Kup is severely damaged with an arm and a leg severed. Kup begs Hot Rod to fix him. Although, how was he repaired when Optimus was doomed?
I have no idea. I guess internal injuries are a thing, because Optimus was physically intact. So,
yeah.
It's
easier to connect a wire than it is to fix the wire.
I guess his ball bearings were just rattling around. Like if Optimus was shaken up, you'd hear it. It'd be like a bean in a can going ding 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 ding.
I could see that.
What's that? That's my matrix of leadership.
Not sure I'd want to deal with that matrix.
Anyway.
Though it's probably better than Keanu Reeves.
Did you just turn that into a dick joke?
Yes.
Oh my god, I love you and hate you at the same time.
Ultra Magnus shows that he can't fly. That shows that he can fly a ship, but not land when they arrive on the planet of junk, which does not look like a planet.
No, it just looks like a floating wad of junk.
It looks like a planet, just like the planet in the new Thor movie. It looks like a planet.
But it's not spherical like a planet. It's just this island of space junk.
Yeah.
There was a Wang Chung song about that planet.
There is?
Yes, it's actually called Space Junk.
Oh my. Anyway. Daniel, in a desire to help, is given an exoskeleton, like his dad's, since Lord knows what atmosphere is like out there. The salvage operations begin in earnest, but they are observed by Monty Python's Flying Circus.
The Junkions, who are voiced by a combination of Frank Welker, Scatman Carruthers, Casey Kasem, and, of course, Eric Idle as Wreck-Gar.
Nice. Hot Rod repairs Cup, who tells them he sucks before moving on to track down the Dinobots. They run into some locals, and Cup attempts the greatest act of diplomacy ever. It fails.
Ba weep, grana weep, nenny bum.
As the Sharktacons take them prisoner. And a small Autobot follows them. We find a series of Quintessons holding trial over trespassers from Gobotron. While placed in a cell by Sharktacons chanting in the universal greeting, a robot named Krennic tries to give tries to give some exposition before his own trial and sentence. We cut to the Dinobots bickering with each other until the small Autobot, later identified as Wheelie from earlier, makes fun of them for going the wrong way. Grimlock takes umbrage with it and gets his note and get 1, 2, 3 until he gets hit in the nose, proving that among Dinobots, ass-kicking equals authority.
And all... Ow, my nose! You're in charge, little Dinobot!
Meanwhile, Galvatron is all like, Unicron, what the hell? And Unicron asks if he saw the body of Ultra Magnus. Galvatron's going, oh, god damn it, and flies to the planet of junk.
After all, assumption is the mother of all screw-ups.
Galvatron, piloting Cyclonus, destroys the shuttle while the sweeps harass an Autobot. Galvatron and Cyclonus confront Magnus, who is unable to deploy the Matrix. Defiant in the end, Galvatron orders the sweeps to converge their fire and annihilate Ultra Magnus. Galvatron seizes the Matrix and announces his intent to use it on Unicron himself.
For some reason, Unicron does not hit the bad touch button at this.
Why?
I don't know. I assume that he's amused at this point.
And
at the very least, the only other thing I could possibly identify is that the Matrix in the hands of Galvatron is probably the absolute safest place for Unicron to have the Matrix if it's going to stay intact.
That much is true.
So,
Cup and Hot Rod are sentenced, but are able to transform once they hit the water, turning the execution pool into a vortex of suck. Low on ammo, they crash into the Sharktacons in vehicle form. Numbered, Hot Rod and Cup are overrun until the Dinobots crash the party. Slug politely apologizes for crushing the bailiff.
Excuse me.
The Dinobots then show why they are spared from the clearance bin, turning the Sharktacons on the Quintessons. The young Autobot, named Wheelie, points to a ship docked by the courthouse, giving Hot Rod and the team an exit. Meanwhile, on the planet of junk, Monty Python's flying biker gang blares Weird Al Yankovic on their stereos and harass the Autobots, interrupting a battlefield funeral. The brief battle is interrupted as Rod Hot screws the planet of junk.
Rod Hot. I'm not editing that out.
Eric Idle asks what's going on before Cup can open fire. Hot Rod shows he's learned from the old man and tries the universal greeting.
By the way, the universal greeting, Ba Wop Grana Weep Ninny Bum, loosely translates to, my name is Hot Rod and I suck.
Yeah. The Junkions repair Ultra Magnus and give him a fresh coat of wax.
Seriously, by the way, Cup received traumatic but survivable injuries with his limbs being ripped off.
Okay.
And was ultimately repaired. Ultra Magnus was blown to shit. I mean, like his head was somewhere, and he could be repaired back to full. Why couldn't Optimus Prime be repaired?
Drama? I don't know. I wish I did. Somehow they are also on board with a sudden mission to kill a god.
Yeah, just...
You mean, wait, are we watching Wonder Woman or Transformers?
Well, Unicron is kind of a god.
Unicron, Ares...
Especially when you look at the helmet.
They are rather horny.
Right.
With an army of Monty Python's flying biker gang, two ships, the Autobot makes for Cybertron. Galvatron tries to intimidate Unicron with the Matrix of Leadership, but Unicron says, "Bitch, please."
I would resurrect Orson Welles just to hear him say, "Bitch, please." And I was like, okay, you can die again now.
Indeed. He shows he can transform into a robotic planet. Into a planet with spectacular glowing abs.
Unicron got a swimmer's bod and may or may not have a beard depending on the particular shot.
Okay, then.
I mean, seriously, it changes from beard, no beard, beard, no beard.
Unicron begins an assault on Cybertron, while Shockwave orders all Decepticons capable of flight to counterattack. Unicron picks Galvatron off of his chest and swallows him whole. Yum.
Taste. He's like, hey, cool, I got the last grape one.
Hot Rod and the team arrive to the sounds of Stan Bush's Dare. Cup announces that he has never seen anything like Unicron.
Good.
Hot Rod shows he sucks at flying a ship by ramming into Unicron's eye, forcing Autobots to ditch the screw ship. Various Autobots are separated and have to avoid Unicron's immune response as a result. Hot Rod is sucked into the same location as Galvatron, and Unicron compels Galvatron to attack. Meanwhile, outside of Unicron, the Dinobots attempt a direct assault on Unicron's literal ass. It does not go well.
This shows an inconsistency that bothers me. When Megatron is first brought to Unicron, he grabs onto Unicron's exterior and his fingers are scraped across Unicron's surface, gouging the metal. Okay?
Okay.
The next time we see Unicron facing any sort of attack or damage or incidental whatever was when he was consuming a moon and it kind of blew up. And didn't damage him at all. Now, 5 Autobots... Well, excuse me. 4 Autobots. One is missing in action for some reason, left behind on Earth. Poor guy.
Oh.
4 Autobots attempt a direct assault on Cybertron's literal Satan, and they manage to dent, tear apart, and blow up and literally melt its ass. Because that's the thing. Me Grimlock kick butt, and he does kick Unicron in the ass. Okay? They attack Unicron's ass.
I feel sorry for the hamster.
So, Rat Trap is in there somewhere, isn't he? Anyway.
Yep.
And they cause visible damage, and I should also point out, inflict pain. Because Unicron swats at them. They inflict pain equivalent to at least having an itch in the butt crack. Or worst case scenario, a tingling burning sensation. So, how can Unicron swallow an exploding moon and be unharmed and yet get swamp ass from Dinobots?
Achilles' heel?
Unicron's weakness is literally to get kicked in the ass?
Maybe?
Where were we?
Inside Unicron, RC ruptures a water tank.
I assume, by the way, that's meant to be coolant.
And Daniel gets separated from the Autobots. He winds up in a smelting pool where Powerglide, Beachcomber, Sunstreaker, and Reflector are sent to the clearance aisle before Daniel saves his dad, Cliffjumper, and Bumblebee. Yay! Bumblebee.
And Jazz.
Bumblebee!
Okay.
Knowing that he sucks, Hot Rod fights Galvatron in a hit-and-run manner, striking, transforming, and moving away. Galvatron then turns the table on Hot Rod and begins to choke the life out of him. However, Hot Rod grabs the Matrix of Leadership and his suckiness is washed away as Optimus Prime's spark declares him to be Rodimus Prime. The new Prime throws Galvatron into deep space.
By the way, Stambush once again is happening.
And unleashes the power of the Matrix by utilizing the obvious the entire time finger grips on the frame.
Who knew that those finger-shaped slots would come in handy?
I know, right? The sudden release of energy proves catastrophic for Unicron, and all his systems collapse and his body disintegrates from the inside. The Autobots attempt to evacuate as they see this new Prime running from an explosion, declaring his awesomeness and telling the kids that he's the new leader and gives them a majestic line.
Autobots, transform and roll out!
Kup declares he always saw potential in Hot Rod, and the Autobots make it out of Unicron just in time. With the Decepticons and Autobots equally shattered from the events, and no resources to carry on the war, Hot Rod declares an end to a million-year-old... 1, 2, 3. Hot Rod declares an end to the million-year-old Cybertronian War, and we all live happily ever after. And, yeah, there's Stambush again.
And Stambush happens one last time. So, Mrs. Arbiter, did you like Transformers the movie?
I've always liked it.
It is the best way I can describe it. It's inoffensive for what it is, and what it is what the original Transformers cartoon always was. It was a toy commercial that because the people who were working on it cared, elevated it not to high art, but to good art, to fun art. And don't get me wrong, there are episodes from the first 2 seasons of the Transformers that are superior in quality to the movie, in terms of storytelling. But this is fun.
It is, actually.
This is fun.
Despite the moments of boo-hoo poo, no. It's still really cool.
And sentencing so many Transformers to the clearance bin.
Yes. There's a clearance sale, by the way.
Who among the newer the characters introduced for this was your favorite?
I almost want to say Hot Rod, much as he sucks.
As much as Hot Rod sucks.
Well,
as an adult, I have a certain fondness for RC. But for me, probably my favorite character growing up was Cup. I always had a thing for the crotchety old man characters. I liked, even as a little kid, I liked Walter Matthau movies. So, and Walter Matthau always played a crotchety old fart, even when he wasn't that old. So that's kind of where that came from. And the voice acting is absolutely incredible. So Judd Nelson returned to the role of Hot Rod twice. First was in Transformers Animated, where he returned as Rodimus Prime for the 3rd season opener. And that's a complicated bit, by the way, because he was Rodimus Prime, but Prime doesn't indicate you're the leader of the Autobots. In fact, Prime was like the equivalent. Yeah, it was a rank, and it was a rank equivalent to like a captain. So, and then also there is a web series on machinima.com where Judd Nelson plays both Rodimus Prime and Hot Rod. He gives up the matrix of leadership.
Oh.
And Perceptor claims it briefly.
Perceptor Prime?
He doesn't become
Primeceptor?
He doesn't become a prime, but he is allowed to carry the matrix. It's weird. And then
okay.
And then another god, a different god, then plucks the matrix from him. It's weird.
So that's why he doesn't get to use it, because it's taken from him.
Yeah. Mark Hamill takes the matrix of leadership from Perceptor and says, "No, you suck."
Says, "No, I was Luke. You suck."
So yeah, there's that. Mrs. Arbiter, I'm kind of in the mood to do at least 3 more of these throughout the 2018 year. What should we do next time?
I don't quite know right now.
Well, the theme is around robots. I know. We'll do a favorite of yours. And it surrounds a robot as its central character.
Okay.
Next time we're going to do weird science.
Okay.
Because the girl, I forget her name, but she is, technically speaking, a robot.
Very true.
So.
Though I know one I'd want to add in just because it does fit the big, giant, stompy robot thing really, really well. Pacific Rim.
That was one that I was considering doing as well. And Pacific Rim will be our big finale, though. So we'll do Weird Science next. After that, I want to do The Terminator.
Oh.
So that'll be our 4-part experiment, by the way. We did Transformers the movie. We'll do Weird Science next, then The Terminator, then Pacific Rim. And you can expect those every so often throughout the year. I'm not going to commit to a production schedule, but you can look forward to them. So that is all. that is all. That's our review of Transformers. If you liked what you heard, be sure to give us a like and subscribe on your podcast listening device of choice. If you want us to do more of these, by the way, as we do them and hopefully refine them a little bit, we had some growing pains with the new format, then by all means give us an email at arbitration.studios@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter at JPArbiter. And with that, I got nothing else.
Also, any suggestions for movies we might not have considered?
Yeah,
We can't remember every single film that's been out there. So, might as well just see what we can play with.
Yep, indeed. So, I got nothing else. You have anything else?
Nope.
All right. Bye, kids.
Later.